here, dude. You need to, I don't know what to do with this now. So we're back to our red text here, and we're back to having to add those changes to the repository. So that's where I type git add dot again, and then git status. And you can see now that our modified readme.txt file has been added again. So you have to add new files, but you also have to add them again when you change them. So that's a little confusing, and when I started using Git, I was always a little confused by that. Like, that didn't make any sense why I'd have to add it again. But think of it as kind of adding new changes to the repository. And then we can type git commit, whoops. And I just use my up arrows to get that, and we can type a new commit message and hit enter. Okay, so now if we do git status again, there we go. We're all committed. So now I just took another snapshot of the files. So now Git knows about that file when it was empty, and now it knows about it with something in it. And if I want to, I can revert back and forth to those versions. I'm not going to get into that right now, but if you're curious, you can kind of read through the documentation and see how to revert back to specific versions. Okay, so basically for this class, or for 362 and 349, if you don't do anything else with Git besides those commands, you'll be cool as a cucumber. You don't need to do anything else. Like, you just need to know how to add files and how to commit them. The only other command you're going to deal with is pushing them up to GitHub, and that's where we're going to pick up, and that's what we're going to do right now. So that's it. You can go crazy. You can go into other directories on your computer. You can create Git repositories, and you can start tracking your changes. And I will concede this with the GUI applications. So let me open those up here. So like if you're using GitHub for Mac, or if there's also a similar version of this for Windows, you can actually go into these files, and it will show you the changes. So you can look at every version of your file and see what was added, what was deleted, everything. And this is incredibly powerful for individuals, but if you're working with like 10 other people, say you're working on a group project, a group paper, and you all have to write a group. God help you if you have to write group papers. I feel sorry for you. But if you are, in fact, writing group papers, think about how amazing it would be if all of you guys were using Git, and I could go into my either my terminal window or GitHub or a piece of software like this, and I can see everyone's changes. Oh, Susie added this really terrible paragraph. We should delete that. It sucks. Or, oh, Mike added this amazing insight on, on whatever, and everyone's changes will be listed out. So it gets incredibly, as you add more people, Git gets incredibly powerful. So we're only scratching the surface in this class. I'm not even really doing the software justice in terms of how powerful it is. Okay, so moving on, because I don't want to keep you guys forever, let's go to GitHub. So now kind of like, don't think about Git anymore for a second, and just get logged into your GitHub account. And now GitHub is essentially just, it's a social network for like coders, basically. So think of it like that. And it's just a place where we can go and share code that we're writing, but it also allows teams to collaborate on that code. For our purposes, this is just a way for you guys to get your stuff to me. And that's pretty much all we're using it for. You can explore other features of Git, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But for the most part, you just need to know how to get your stuff up here. So I'm going to pretend like I don't already have these two folders here or anything, and I'm going to create a new repository on GitHub. Shelby, that's a good question. In the course route software, if you go into your user account, there's a little space where you can enter your GitHub username. Just go put your GitHub username there, and I'll find your code, no problem. That's a good question. Okay, so this is right here, github.com/new. We're going to create a new repository, and you can call this repository whatever you want. Maybe like your net ID and the name of the class. So we'll go 349. Double check the questions. If we already have created repositories, should we delete them? You don't have to delete them. You can just create a new one if you want to walk through this with me from scratch. You can create unlimited public repositories, so you don't have to worry too much about that. Okay, so the repository name here. This does not have to match whatever you called your folder. So don't confuse the two. You can call your local repository whatever you want. You can call this folder whatever you want. And in GitHub, you can call it whatever you want. We're essentially just going to be, think of it as like, I just put a folder on GitHub and I put a folder on my local machine, and we're just going to sync them together. We're going to make them talk to one another, and that's it. So you could call them whatever. It doesn't matter what you call them. Make it public. If you are a paying GitHub member, you have the option to have private repositories. And in fact, as I was doing research for this today, I realized that I can email GitHub as a teacher and get everyone free private repositories, which I might do, but I don't want to confuse anyone any further. So can it be the same name as the repositories are created? I don't believe so. I think it has to be unique to it has to be unique, but you'll see a little check mark by it if it is or isn't. So if it's not, it won't let you save it if you can't use that name. So it'll be pretty good about telling you what the name is. So create a repository name, give it a description if you want. It's not necessary. Public, and then don't initialize this repository with a README. You don't have to. You can if you want to, but I want to talk about how you work with that. So go ahead and click Create Repository, and this is always the screen that you're going to get initially. It's going to say this quick setup, and then it's going to come down here, and you're going to have two options: create a new repository on the command line, or push an existing repository from the command line. So if you already have a local repository, you want to come down here to this. And basically what we just did here just a minute ago, we created a local repository already. So we're going to follow those instructions. If you haven't created a local repository, then you follow the instructions up here and just make sure you're doing it within a new folder. And you'll see right here the touch, git init, git add. Those were the same commands we talked about before we got into GitHub. Now, the only thing you have to do to make your local folder talk to this new remote folder that you just created is you have to add what's called a remote. And I kind of hinted at this earlier in the talk. Git has this feature called remotes, and I can essentially have remote repositories all over the place, all over the world if I want to. So, and every time I add a new remote, I can send my code to those remotes via the command line or through the Git interface. So what I usually do is I just copy this command here, this git remote add origin, and I make sure that I'm inside of my repository. So you know this is a repository because it's git status and it's showing things, and I paste that in. So now, just to go through this command real quick. So first we have git. That's what we're working with. We're telling git that we want to work with a remote. And within that command, we want to add a new remote. And the name of that remote is origin. So we're basically adding a new remote called origin. And we're going to give this a link to the GitHub directory. And that's this https:/github.com/jcardo or whatever. So then when we hit enter, nothing should happen. It should just basically go to a new line. Let's see here. All right, Marcia, git master changes not staged for commit. Use git add file to update what will be committed. So yeah, so you want to type git add dot. So try typing that and then see what happens. And then if all of your So if everything's ready to be committed, so after you type git add dot, then you want to type git commit m and then message, just like that. And then you should be able to, once that happens, if you type git status, you'll be back to this on branch master, nothing to commit. So once we've added this remote here, that's basically it. We're linked up to our GitHub account. So now we can type git push u origin master. So git push u is basically just we're going to push our code somewhere. We're going to take what's in this little directory. We're going to send it to one of our remotes. So then we have to tell it what remote we want to send it to. So in this case, it's origin. And we want to tell it what branch we want to commit, and that's the master branch. I'm not going to get into branching because that really gets confusing with source code management. Just know that by default, your branch is always master, and that's all you have to remember. So for instance, with this particular command, it's always going to be git push u origin master. Shelby, what's the error message you're getting? Source ref spec master does not match any. Let me wow, okay, so everyone's getting that. All right, one sec. I need to check my notes here. Let's see. Oh, by the way, Stack Overflow is definitely your friend. Let's see. Oh, okay. So have you guys all done the git commits? Let me see if let me try one thing here. Let me just make a change to this and save it. All right, let me try to commit this real quick. Source ref spec master does not match any. Yeah, that's a weird. That is a weird error. I may have to come back to that one, guys, because I might have to do some research as to why you're getting that. Are you guys both on? Are you guys on Macs or Windows? Mac, okay. Okay, try typing this command here, git remote r remove origin. So git rm or like that. And then so you git status not indicate that you have any active master branch. And then so at that point, you should still be able to paste this in. And it shouldn't, that shouldn't error out. I'm not quite sure why that's happening for you guys. Let me think. Try doing that remove and then re-adding and see if that works. For those that if this is working at this point, you should be able to essentially type git push u origin master. For me, it prompts for my GitHub username and password. Depending on how you set up your depending on how you set up Git or how you set up GitHub from those instructions, you may not have to type that. It may just, if you use that OSX keychain system, you may not have to type that every time. To me, it doesn't really make any difference. I don't mind typing my username and password. And this username and password is your GitHub username and password. So whatever you typed, username and password you use to set up your Git repository or your GitHub repository, you want to use that. I push my files, but I get error git credential OSX keychain dot of signal 11 after I put my username and password. Did it still push successfully, Shelby, or does it fail? Like if you go to your GitHub, like if you go back to GitHub and refresh, are you seeing your files? Huh, that's weird. I wonder if that's just like a weird, that might just be a weird error. If it's still pushing and stuff is appearing in your repository, oh, okay. So basically that just means that the OSX keychain, whenever you set that up, you probably didn't do it properly and it's a little confusing. I would say just leave it. As long as it's committing, it's doing the right thing. I know it's a little disconcerting to see that error, but I've actually never used the OSX keychain thing that they have you use there. So don't worry too much about it. As long as your stuff is getting committed up to GitHub, I wouldn't stress about it. I'll do a little more research into that, and maybe I can figure out a way to make those errors go away, because I know it's a little annoying to have to see that stuff. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. All right, so the beauty of all this now is if everything works out correctly, I should be able to go into GitHub, and I should be able to see the same two files that are on my computer. And the coolest thing is that I can go in and look at the commits. I can see when I committed, and you can see my messages here. And I can even click on the commit itself, and it'll tell me what's changed from the last commit. So it's super, super powerful. And the other beautiful thing is then once you guys commit your code, I can come in here and basically clone your repository onto my computer, and I can start looking at your files right away. So someone send me their GitHub, someone send me their repository. So if you're in your repository, send me this link. So it'll look something like that. And I'll show you guys exactly how powerful this is. Okay, so I'm going to copy this URL here, and I'm going to go onto my local computer, and I am going to get back to my desktop. I'm going to create a directory called Omega. I'm going to go into that directory, and then I'm going to go git clone. Okay, so there's nothing in your repository right now, but let me see here. One sec. Oh. Yeah, does someone have one that has something in their repository? Sorry, I should have been more specific about that. Okay. Thanks. Don't feel bad. Everyone gets a gold star for showing up today, so no worries. So let me do this again. So let's go out of that. We'll create a new directory. Lido, we'll go into Lido, and we'll go git clone. Boom. Oh, whoops. Oh, sorry guys, I'm confusing myself here. Okay. Okay, fresh directory. Ignore all that other crap. That was all very confusing. So if I type git clone and I paste that in and then I go space dot, so I clone it into the directory that I just created. Now, I have all your files on my machine. So there's your readme.txt. So now check this out. I can go, I can open that up and I can go, Jeff was here. Haha. Save it. We'll go git add dot, git commit, we'll go unsolicited commits. I think I just typed my password wrong. Whoops. Ooh. Oh, hang on. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. Yeah. You haven't shared that with me, but anyway, I probably have confused more people than I've helped in this one. So basically, like if I were added to that repository, I'd be able to push back. I would be able to push that code back up to GitHub to share with you guys. So it's actually a good default that I can't do that by default. But generally, this is how I'm going to pull down all of your work, is by cloning all of your repositories on my computer. And then when you guys turn in work, all I have to do is go git pull origin master, and it will pull down all your changes right away for me. So that's kind of the power behind that. So let me just get to this question real quick. After you do this example, my GitHub application, under my changes tab where it shows the committed files, it literally has all my files on my computer, and it's making the application run much slower. Uncommitted files. So this is probably because you have a Git repository created in like in one of your main, like at the root of your file system or in your home directory. The best thing to do would be to probably go into your home directory. So just go cd tilde and do an ls-al and look for a .git folder. If there's a .git folder in there, that means you initiated a Git repository in there, and you probably want to undo that. You probably want to delete that that folder if you can. That would be my guess as to why you're getting those issues. Because you should, if you're in an empty directory, there shouldn't be any uncommitted files. There should just be nothing there. Because like for example, if I created a Git repository in my home directory, it would essentially list every single thing in my directory as, every single thing as uncommitted. So it would be a little crazy. So you basically probably have a stray .git repository, like .git folder somewhere that you need to get rid of. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's the workflow between Git and GitHub. We're pushing out about an hour here, so I don't really want to keep you guys any longer. I'm going to save this video. I'm going to post it to the web somewhere so you guys can kind of review this and try to work things out. Basically, like everyone kind of gets a free pass for the next week or so on Git. Hang on, Shelby, I'll come back to that. Just don't want to lose my train of thought. You guys, everyone kind of gets a pass on Git for the next week or so. Pushing into week 3, I do want to make sure everyone understands how this is going. So if you're still like absolutely just stuck, or like you've completely just jacked up your entire computer from this, you may have to schedule a personal Skype call with me, and I can go through your individual issue. So if you're just like, if you get through this weekend and you're still just like banging your head against the wall with this, send me an email and we'll set up a one-on-one next week, and I can help you guys. So, and I also do apologize that I'm not local. I'm usually local for this class, but I'm in Washington, D.C. until August. So I can't have, obviously I can't have personal office hours. So I'm going to do my best to make up for that by, kind of having unlimited one-on-one stuff. If you guys want to schedule that with me, please feel free to do that. Part of being in this class is that you have access to the mushy stuff between my ears. Like, I want you guys to ask questions. I want you guys to reach out for help, both in web design and server management stuff. If you guys want to talk to me about career things, what you want to do when you grow up, how all this stuff works, what I do, entrepreneurship, I could go on and on and on about lots of different topics. So I'm here kind of at your disposal if you guys need help with anything. In addition to that, just feel free to reach out with questions. Like, sometimes people don't do great with online classes, and sometimes topics aren't necessarily like really ironed out for to kind of do well in an online environment. So just the best thing you can do is communicate with me. I'm here to help, and I'm here to make sure all you guys get through all this. So just let me know what you need, and I'm happy to help. So that kind of wraps it for right now. Any other questions from this, just direct them to my email, and hopefully I cleared a lot of stuff up for you guys. So I do apologize for the frustration over the last few weeks. I feel your pain. So anyway, that's all I got. And if you guys have questions, shoot them my way. If not, enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk next week. Thanks, guys. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I might just start doing these every week on particular topics that students are struggling with. I mean, every week there's going to be new stuff. People are going to kind of are going to need some help. So I might schedule these more often than not, and record them. So I'll kind of keep my pulse on what everybody's having problems with, and I'll try to structure these maybe even every other week. Every week might be a little too much, but anytime I see students struggling, I'll put one of these together, and we can walk through stuff together. And like I said, get with me individually if you're still having problems, and we'll get stuff worked out. So anyway, that's it. Enjoy your Friday. Thanks, guys.